Welcome to her revenge. This story takes place in San Francisco. My name is Natalie, and by the time I turned 23, I had already mastered the art of pretending that cruel jokes didn't hurt. Growing up, adopted in a family that loved appearances more than honesty taught me that lesson early. That night in San Francisco, under chandeliers glittering over crisp white tablecloths and a panoramic view of the bay, I wasn't thinking about revenge. I was just trying to survive another happy family dinner. I slid into my seat in a simple red dress, the one I'd bought on sale after 3 night shifts, telling myself I could blend into the background and get through the night. I knew my sister would be the star. Charlotte always was loud, charming, beautiful in a way that made waiters lean in and teachers overlook her attitude. I'd lived in her shadow for so long that it almost felt natural. Almost. When she stood up and clinked her glass, I already felt my stomach tighten. "Cheers to our real family," she announced, her voice slicing through the restaurant chatter. People at nearby tables glanced over, drawn in by her confidence. Then she turned, eyes glittering as they landed on me. "Except the girl in the red dress," she added, smirking. "She's just adopted." Laughter burst around me like a firecracker. It wasn't just my parents and relatives at that long table. Charlotte had invited friends, coworkers, anyone who could applaud her performance. For a second, my fork hovered halfway to my mouth. Heat rushed to my face, but I forced my jaw to move, forced myself to chew like nothing happened. I'd heard variations of that joke my whole life. But this time, something felt different, like a wire finally snapping deep inside my chest. I stared at my plate while the echoes of their amusement bounced off the walls. Have you ever watched a room laugh at your pain and wondered if you were the only sane person there? I told myself to breathe, to keep my head down, to get through the evening like always. But then the manager arrived, holding a leather folder, professional smile barely hiding his curiosity as he glanced at our chaotic table. "I hope you've all enjoyed your evening," he said politely. "I just need to confirm who will be settling the $5,000 bill tonight." $5,000. The number landed like a hammer. The table went quiet. Charlotte's smile faltered as attention swung from me to her, then to our parents, then back. I don't know what snapped in that moment. Maybe it was years of being the punchline. Or maybe it was the way my mother shifted as if waiting for me to somehow make everyone feel comfortable again. Instead, I straightened my back, turned to the manager, and let a small deliberate smile curl my lips. "She will," I said, pointing my thumb at Charlotte. "Let her and her real family handle it. After all, I'm just adopted, right? This is only the beginning." The room froze. A server dropped a spoon. Somewhere behind us. Charlotte's face drained of color as the weight of my words and the $5,000 check landed squarely in her lap. She'd wanted a joke. I'd just given her a punchline she couldn't control. Before I tell you what happened after that bill landed on the table and how this one dinner pushed our family to the breaking point, tell me, what time is it for you right now and where are you watching from? I'm honestly curious to see how far this story will travel. For a few long seconds, the whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath. The manager's question still hung in the air as Charlotte stared at the bill like it might explode. "You're kidding, right?" she said, voice sharp with forced laughter. "Natalie, sit down. Don't be weird." I didn't. "You just toasted the real family and made it clear I'm not part of it," I replied, keeping my tone calm. "So, it wouldn't make sense for the not real one to pay for a real family celebration, would it?" My mother jumped in with a tight smile, trying to smooth it over. "There's no problem," she told the manager. "We're just joking. We'll handle the bill." But the manager's frown didn't disappear. "With respect, ma'am, jokes about someone not being real family, especially when they're adopted, aren't exactly harmless," he said evenly. "I just want to make sure everyone here is treated fairly." His words burned more than Charlotte's toast because they made something very clear. A stranger saw the problem faster than my family ever had. Charlotte bristled. "We're fine. It's just how we joke," she insisted, then shot me a look. "Right, Nat? The nickname sounded like a chain. I remembered being 8, holding my school photo while she joked about putting it in a before we got our real kid album, everyone laughing, my parents telling me not to be so sensitive. Tonight was just a bigger stage and a bigger bill. If this is your idea of joking, then we really do have different definitions of family, I said. My father finally spoke, eyes hard. Natalie, you're making a scene, he muttered. We can discuss this later. That old line, my cue to shrink, to apologize, to swallow it all. Instead, I shook my head. I'm done being the scene you all laugh at. I answered. Have you ever realized in one instant that keeping the peace has only ever meant keeping yourself small? Charlotte scoffed louder, trying to win the crowd back. She's always like this. She told her friends, so dramatic about being adopted. We gave you a great life, Nat. You should be grateful instead of attacking me over a joke. I met her gaze. Gratitude doesn't mean letting you use my adoption as a prop, I said. It doesn't mean paying the bill for a family I'm reminded I don't really belong to. The manager, sensing the moment, stepped closer and placed the check in front of Charlotte. I'll give you a few minutes, he said. If you'd like, we can split the bill by seat, but we won't let someone be singled out and then stuck with the cost. Then he walked away, leaving the weight of his words on the table along with the money. My mother leaned towards Charlotte, whispering urgently, just pay it. We'll reimburse you later. That one word, reimburse, was the mask slipping. Of course, they'd quietly fix it later. Make sure their golden child suffered as little as possible. Keep everything looking perfect from the outside. No, I cut in. You laughed at me in public. You can deal with the fallout in public, too. If you want to fix something, start by realizing I'm not a joke. My father glared, but for once he didn't tell me to apologize. Charlotte's friends shifted, discomfort written all over their faces. One of them murmured, Char, that toast was kind of harsh, and I watched the realization flicker across my sister's features. For the first time, people weren't automatically on her side. That night, the first crack in her perfect image didn't come from my anger, but from her own words, finally catching up with her. The rest of the dinner felt like standing on a fault line. Dessert arrived and went untouched. Coffee cooled in cups no one raised, and the only thing moving freely was tension, slipping from person to person. Charlotte kept flipping the bill folder open and shut, as if the numbers might change if she clicked it enough times. You made me look horrible. She hissed at me between clenched teeth. My friends think I'm some kind of monster now. You did that yourself when you raised that glass. I replied. My father, still trying to be the calm center, finally said. Charlotte, we can't pretend what you said was okay. You crossed a line. It may have been a joke to you, but it clearly wasn't to your sister. Charlotte stared at him like she didn't recognize him. So, you're on her side now, she demanded. All these years, I've been the one making you proud, and suddenly I'm the villain because she can't take a joke. The word years lit up a string of memories in my head. The credit card incident where she blamed her designer spree on me and let me take the shame. The family pictures where she nudged me out for a just us shot. The night she told friends Mom and Dad rescued me and everyone laughed. This isn't new, I said quietly. The restaurant just made it harder to hide. My mother tried again, voice shaky. We never meant to make you feel less, Natalie, she said. We thought you understood that we love you. Love doesn't sound like people laughing when I'm reminded I don't share your DNA. I cut in. Love doesn't leave me hanging out to dry so your image stays clean. Then I turned to my sister. Do you remember junior year and Mom's credit card? Her eyes widened. Shut up, she muttered. That has nothing to do with this. It does, I said. Because Mom believed you when you implied I was the one who'd used it. She told me we didn't raise you like this while you watched. You knew who'd really bought that bag. You just knew who they'd assume was guilty. My mother's face drained of color as she looked between us. Charlotte, she whispered. Is that true? For once, Charlotte didn't have a quick answer. Her silence was loud enough. Have you ever watched someone realize their favorite story about themselves? That they're fair, loving, good doesn't match the evidence. My father's voice hardened. We'll talk about that later, he said, eyes on Charlotte. Right now, this bill needs to be paid and respect needs to be restored. He gestured to the manager who reappeared like he'd been orbiting nearby, waiting for the signal. Split the check, my father told him. Half on our card, half on my daughter Charlotte's. Natalie's meal goes on ours. I shook my head. No, put mine separate, I said. I'll pay for myself. My mother frowned, confused. You don't have to prove anything, she said. We can cover it. I'm not proving anything, I replied. I'm just making it clear. I'm not here out of obligation or charity. I'm here because I chose this family. If that choice isn't mutual, I need to know. The manager nodded, jotting notes, and left again. Charlotte stared at me, fury and something like fear mixing in her expression. For the first time, she couldn't twist the narrative into dramatic adopted girl overreacts. People had seen, my parents had heard. A bill was being split. Consequences included. As we finally got up to leave, chairs scraping against polished floors, I realized this wasn't just the end of a bad dinner. It was the moment the old script, me quiet, her shining, my parents looking away, started to burn. HE drive home was quiet in the loudest way. City lights smeared across the car windows while I sat in the back seat, watching the reflections of my parents' faces in the front and Charlotte's rigid profile beside me. No one rushed to break the silence. It felt like speaking too soon might trigger another explosion. Eventually, Charlotte's composure cracked. I can't believe you let her do that to me. She burst out, leaning between the front seats. Dad, Mom, she destroyed me in front of everyone. My friends are never going to forget this. My father kept his eyes on the road. You destroyed yourself the moment you made that toast, he said evenly. We laughed when we shouldn't have. That's on us. But you lit the match. It was a joke, she insisted. They all know that she turned it into some big trauma scene. She always does. I stared at the back of her head. I turned it into honesty, I said. You're just not used to hearing it said out loud. My mother twisted in her seat to look at me. Natalie, you could have talked to us at home, she said, sounding more hurt by the public confrontation than by the years of comments. Calling your sister out like that in front of everyone. It embarrassed all of us. There it was. Embarrassment ranking higher than emotional damage. I've been talking, I said quietly. You just called it being sensitive every time. Tonight was the first time anyone outside this family confirmed I wasn't crazy. Have you ever realized the only way to be heard in your own family is to let strangers witness the truth with you? We rolled over the bridge, city glow reflecting off the water below, and my father finally spoke again. When we adopted you, he said slowly. We promised we'd treat you no differently than a biological child. I thought loving you was enough. I didn't see how easily we let jokes slide because they didn't target us. He paused. That's on me. His words made something in my chest ache. I wanted to believe him, but apologies without change were just polished band-aids. Charlotte scoffed. So now I'm the bad guy and she's the saint. She muttered. You two have always babied her. I laughed softly, unable to help it. Babed me? I repeated. You've spent years reminding everyone that I should be grateful to even be here. No one responded. When we pulled into the driveway, Charlotte flung her door open and stormed inside without waiting. My parents moved slower, weighed down by everything unsaid. I stayed in the car an extra minute, staring at the house that held every version of me. From the hopeful little girl clutching an adoption folder to the woman who just publicly refused to be the punchline. I checked my phone and saw a text from Oliver. Still alive.